Trick or treat! Wow, what a haul! Let's head home and check out what all we got. Hello, Internet! The store had a candy shortage, so everyone handed out games for Trick or Treat this year. Personally, I think it fits. Video games and spooks go together pretty well. And the two have been combined since 1981 with Haunted House on the Atari 2600. Oh, and this one arcade game I heard about online. Polybius, a game developed in 1981 by a small company called Sinislotion. Released only in certain parts of Portland, Oregon, the game was popular to the point of addiction, and people experienced side effects like seizures and amnesia from playing it. Not only that, Men in Black would come and collect strange data from the game, possibly reactions to the game's weird side effects. There are no official records of the game existing, so it was likely a hoax stemmed from the fear against the government at the time. It could have also been inspired by Cube Quest, one of the first 3D games that often hurt people's eyes and required maintenance. Now that's a game that doesn't exist. But one that does exist is Godzilla Monster of Monsters. Now before we continue, I should probably explain what a creepypasta is. It stems from copypasta, which is a text that's meant to be copied and pasted throughout the internet. Creepypasta is the same but focused on horror, although the term is used now to describe most internet horror media. Anyway, the story is pretty long, but I can still summarize. Basically, this guy named Zach finds a copy of Monster of Monsters, only to play it and find out that it's haunted by his girlfriend and a giant monster named Red. The story is filled with screenshots that are pretty cool, so I'd recommend checking this out for yourself. But you know what's scarier than a giant red monster? That's right, file extensions! Sonic.exe, probably the most infamous example of this kind of thing. It's very similar to the NES Godzilla creepypasta, but shorter yet somehow extremely repetitive. So this guy named Tom gets a disc from his friend Kyle telling him to destroy it. He plays the game because plot, and bam, spooks! The game has 3 levels, each one with a different Sonic character that isn't Sonic. They walk to the right, hyper-realistic blood covers the level, and then Sonic with red eyes gets him. It's the same thing 3 times over, and then Tom finds an evil Sonic plush on his bed, the end. Yeah, you can probably tell that this story isn't that great. It was even taken down from the original site it was hosted on for, quote, being badly written and having too many cliches. However, there was a game adaptation released by Miss Crimson in 2013. It's just as boring as the original, complete with stolen fan art and Earthbound music. Despite being really popular and spawning a lot of other games and stories, Sonic.exe really isn't good with either. An example of this story done right is Needle Mouse by Shut Up JoJo, which is actually pretty scary and worth watching. And while you're at it, give Sonic PC Port Remake a shot. It's more fun to play, and it's more faithful to the original Genesis games. Speaking of being faithful to the original hardware, next up is Petscop. Instead of just being text on a page like the other things we've talked about, this is a multi-part video series, so already a huge step up in production value. Like Polybius, it's a game that doesn't really exist, but unlike that, there was actually a full game created just for the videos. You can tell there was a lot of effort put into making this as believable as possible, from the look and feel of the game to the way the Let's Player plays it. The player never really says its name, but he names the save file Paul, so that's what we'll call him. He starts by going through the unfinished gift plane and collecting pets, a similar concept to Pokemon. But once he's gotten all the pets he can, Paul goes to the room with the one pet he can't figure out how to grab, and inputs a cheat code given to him by a note on the disc that he got. Once he does, the game completely changes. The bright pastel colors of the gift plane are replaced with blanketing shadows and low-resolution realistic textures, and this strange new environment is filled with characters and set pieces that feel like they could have been taken from real life. Paul considers that there could be an entity in the machine, but there are other clues that suggest that something else is going on. The game contains demo recordings to coincide with what Paul does, with slight differences, suggesting that the game is a portal to alternate universes. Or maybe not, the creator said the Petscop was up for interpretation, so you could take a lot of things out of it. This ended up being much more than a simple Pokemon clone on the PS1. So how about we actually talk about Pokemon? Lavender Town is already a weird part of the first Pokemon game, but it's elevated by that creepy high-pitched music. Eventually, rumors began to spread that the original version of this song would cause symptoms similar to Polybius, and that Game Freak covered everything up. There was a Japanese exclusive episode of the Pokemon anime that gave hundreds of kids seizures, so it could have been possible. With no further leads, people really believed that something sinister was happening in this ghost town. While we're on the topic of ghosts, it's been a while since we talked about an old-fashioned haunted game. Ben Drowned is a massive multimedia tale that began with posts regarding a haunted copy of Majora's Mask. It began with a guy named Deducible finding the cartridge at a yard sale, and in it, a save file known as Ben. But once he deletes this file and performs a glitch, strange things begin to happen. Clock Town falls apart, music plays in reverse, and Link randomly bursts into flames. But the most unsettling part is the statue that constantly teleports behind Link, like it's haunting him. Now this sounds standard, but he also posted footage of these strange happenings. It's extremely impressive that he basically reprogrammed a Zelda game for these videos. Now after all these shenanigans, a group called the Moon Children was introduced, and the story became interactive, with hidden websites and viewers deciding where it would go next. Wrapping up in 2020, Ben Drown left a huge impact on its genre. It might seem tried and cliche nowadays, but you have to remember that it started a lot of those cliches, and it's one of the best examples of a video game creepypasta. With all that out of the way, now I can play the game I got for Halloween.
You fool. You've left me in that void for the last time. I'm going to come out of this screen and I'm going to...
Alright, what games did you guys get? Hey, did you know that every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized?